Please go ahead, sir. We are live now.
Thank you, everyone. Can I request Dr. Lovneesh Chanana, Chairman of our Council, IT, ITS, and Digital Commerce, to please make his welcome address? Over to you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you so much, Varun, and a very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to this very interesting and relevant topic of discussion on consumer experience and quality 4.0. I have been asked to just set the context for the very rich deliberations which have been planned during the next an hour or so. Let me just quickly set the context for the audience and then hand over for the panel to take it forward. So the topic that we have, the customer experience and quality 4.0. If we see, these are two separate disciplines, but very closely interwoven and linked. And now, at least in the digital age, these are becoming synonymous in terms of from a management perspective. Now, why suddenly this topic when we talk about quality 4.0 or the digital transformation of the experience, customer experience and quality 4.0 has actually gained relevance? We always say that we are moving to the age of intelligent enterprises. When I say intelligent enterprises, the machines taking over the repetitive tasks, liberating humans from the repetitive task and allowing us to focus on high value tasks. That's one. Second, we all of us will also agree today that the digital consumers today are actually a reality, and pandemic has further brought it to the forefront, and that is where the customer experience or the consumer experience, the days are very much in. Now, what I mean by consumer experience, the days are very much in. We have so far been so used to actually managing operational data. So how part is that we have managed, whether from an efficiency perspective or from an effectiveness perspective, as to how can I do. Let's for example, let's take the classical example of a public transport system, wherein I've so far been so focused on how do I manage my fleet efficiently, on time performance, fuel efficiency, pollution control data, and all. And I've been managing these operations using digital technologies so well. I think now the new addition that is coming in is the whole experiential data. So the what and how that we have been measuring so far is actually now also getting supplemented or a component, a dimension of why is it getting. Going back to the same example of the public transport system, there is no connectivity to my house. That's a why answer that needs to get captured now when we are talking about the experience management. The buses are not clean. The real time participation of the stakeholders is something that is, and it's not that we are just doing it for the sake of improvement. There is an economic or there is a financial linkage to that. The route optimization, the toll charging, the congestion road charging, a number of these things. So that is where the things seem to be shaping up as we move forward. Now, and the other important element when we talk about customer experience and quality 4.0 is the very important development of machines becoming co-workers. That is now we started with the digital technologies helping us as more of a perception tool. We went on to the prediction tool, then to the prescription, and now we have digital technologies as a participation tool along with that. So that gives a total reorientation to the concept of quality. Now, the reason why suddenly this has become an important discipline is lies actually the answer lies in the development itself. We have so far been used in terms of digital technologies into a one way the evolution. That is, I was creating a product which people were using it. Now it has become an Accenture report. If you read, it's a fantastically put that it's a two-way evolution now, in the sense that it is the data, people are not only users of systems, but they're also feeding in data. And that's where, from a management perspective, it assumes all the more importance, because the companies, society, the government, we now need to have a very, very profound insight on what impact or effect it can have on the society at large, or the another example, I always say that the distinction between public safety and cyber security gradually diminishing, because cyber is becoming more and more embedded into that. Now, coming to the topic of the quality 4.0, I think there are few, while there will be good deliberations during the day, but to set the context, I think one important area for discussion, thought process could be the distinction and the marriage between the process quality and data quality, which are now actually becoming more or less synonymous in terms of a proactive engagement. Second is, we have been using the traditional quality improvement in terms of employee participation, the stakeholder management, that giving way to self-learning, and hence the need for continuous adoption. And third, as I mentioned, the operational quality versus experiential quality. And fourth, which is a very important component that all of us should actually cover, is, are we talking about quality for growth, or are we talking about quality for sustainable growth? The sustainability dimension getting linked into all the things that we measure, that we control, that we improve, is something that we need to seriously look into this. So, as if I have to look at it as a program, what all the areas that probably will need addition from a digital transformation perspective? One, obviously, all of us are aware, the digital infrastructure piece. That's one. Skilling, the work organization and redesign, the skilling of cyber, the new roles of cyber physical systems, which are actually getting evolved. For example, the additive manufacturing engineer, the IoT engineers, and hence the requirement of the processes, the regulatory framework, and to me the most important thing is creating awareness among stakeholders about the need for digital as a horizontal rather than digital as a vertical, that we now need to live with. So that is the context that I wanted to set, and I'm sure during the next hour or hour and a half, we'll see very interesting point of views. We'll see very interesting thought process emerging, and I look forward to very interesting deliberations. Thank you, and back to you, Varun.
Thank you, sir. Now, can I request Shri Javed Ahmad, Senior Vice President, Global Supply Chain, yeah, Middle East, Africa, East Africa, Asia Pacific, and South America, Schneider Electric, to kindly make his presentation. You can share the presentation rights.
So, thank you, Varun. Can you give me the presentation rights, please?
We have made you the presenter, Mr. Javed.
Javed, you need to click on share button to share your screen.
Yeah, so are you able to see my screen now?
Yet. Yes, we can.
Okay, so thank you, Varun. I guess you're able to see my screen. So what I want to do in the next 7-10 minutes, share with you how Schneider Electric is organized and what we are doing to basically enhance the customer experience and the quality, and how we can benefit from it by better serving the customer and use it as a means to become a supplier of choice and growth for us. So just to quickly tell you about Schneider Electric, we are in our digital transformation journey in energy management and automation. And to share with you, we are a 25.2 billion euro company. And the way we are organized is we have operations in North America, Western Europe, rest of the world, Asia Pacific. We have 128,500 employees, and we put in 5% of our revenues towards R&D. So if you see, the supply chain function is our global function, but it is managed regionally. So if you see, we have 4 regions. We have Europe, we have North America, we have China, and we have international. And what we in India are doing is we are part of the international region. So I'm representing the international region here. That is under my control. So if you see, the international region consists of several sub-regions. We have East Asia, Japan, we have Pacific, we have India, we have Middle East, Africa, and South America. It's 29 countries, and it's spread over four continents. And if you see, what we have here is we have 18,000 people in our team. We have 50 factories, 6 of them are smart factories. We have 60 distribution centers, and we have several nationalities that are working in our team serving this region. So what we are doing in India is we are taking advantage of the Make in India scheme, and we are totally in sync with our government's vision to produce in India for the world. And we are using India as a platform. We have several factories in India, which we use it as a platform to support our customers globally. And we are making a lot of investments in developing this manufacturing platform to serve a lot of customers globally. So if you see, in India, we have 28 factories. We have a total countrywide presence. We have 31,000 employees working in India. We have 1,800 people working in R&D. We have 30 export destinations. We are serving to all the different countries on a worldwide basis, to almost all the countries worldwide. And we are using this platform not only to serve India, but also to serve our customers globally. So if you see what we are doing to enhance the customer experience and to leverage digital, what we are finding out, there are 5 or 6 major mega trends. One is the customer personalization. Every customer is has unique needs, and we need to tailor our processes and our systems and our way of working to satisfy those customer needs. The other thing is people are looking for a customer-focused supply chain. So all the activities that we do, we really need to have a very deep understanding of what the customer needs are and how we need to organize ourselves and to focus our supply chain to better cater to those needs. Digital is becoming more and more prevalent. I mean, customers are expecting all of us to be digital. They want to have a digital interaction with us. So it's easy for them to use and get what they need from us. So this is becoming much more and more and more important. Many of our international customers are using this digital platform that we have put in place to be able to service their needs. It's also looking for agility and resilience. The marketplace is not the same. People have different requirements. So the customers are expecting us to be agile. And we have had several shocks in the last 20, 24 months with Corona, etc. And they also expect us to be resilient, to be able to handle all these different things that are happening in the marketplace, like material shortages, semiconductor shortages, logistic issues that we are having, etc. The customers expect us to be able to deal with all this stuff to be able to serve them better. And then digital and remote everywhere. So we are looking at all these mega trends, and we have worked very diligently to be able to make sure that we're able to understand our customer needs and give them the experience and to serve them in a very professional way, so we can become a supplier of choice for them. So if you see, we have different processes which are running. One is the CNPS, which is the Customer Net Promoter Score, and the Net Satisfaction Score. So every time we make a delivery, we are sending a survey out. The customer is giving us feedback digitally, and then we are trying to see, based on the survey results, how we can better serve the customer. Then we also have a DCR focus, which is the customer defect rate. So every time focusing on logistics quality to make sure that we are delivering the right products to them at the right time with the right paperwork, etc. So they have a very, very good experience when they're dealing with it when it comes to logistics quality. Now, digital, we have My Schneider Electric, which is a digital platform. I mean, in this platform, they're able to look at quotations, they're able to look at our product offerings, they're able to place orders, they're able to track their shipments, and it gives them a complete overall digital experience. We're also looking at the stocking levels which the customers have, and with some customers, etc., we are working on co-planning, so we are able to better serve their needs, reserve their product, etc. Customer first. I mean, the way our customer first culture is we are trying to bring in the customer first culture in our organization, so that all the things that we do is organized around the customer. Offer experience, we want to make sure that we deliver the best in offer quality. I mean, as far as reliability of our products is concerned, in terms of serving them and after sales service, etc. And then we are looking at the service experience, which is after sales, spare parts, etc. So when we combine all these different processes, what we try to endeavor is to give a very, very good customer experience to our customers, so that enables us to have better stickiness with them, which enables us to help them grow. So we in turn can grow in return, get a lot of repeat business, and become a supplier of choice for them. So thank you very much. This is what I wanted to share with you. And now I will give the floor over to KP.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thanks, Javed. And Varun, if you can, yes, thank you. I have made you the presenter. Yes. So you can see my screen now, Varun?
It's going to take a minute. It is saying Kailash Sharma is starting. Yes, now we can.
You can see now, right? Full screen.
Now we can.
Okay, very good. So good afternoon, everyone. So this was good to hear from Dr. Lovneesh, and I guess he has touched very important topics on customer experience and quality, the key enablers for growth or sustainable growth. Then he also talked about digital one way or it's two way. And then he also talks about very important point, like, if machines are working, really co-workers for us in the manufacturing, logistics and all. And I will touch upon certain topics in my presentation. And I guess thanks to Javed for sharing about Schneider Electric and what we are trying to do in customer experience. So in my presentation, I will share with you what are the different trends happening in digital customer experience and how Quality 4.0 is moving forward. So if you see now, people are talking about, customer effort reduction by 2024. Like a lot of companies were measuring customer satisfaction. They moved to CNPS and NSS. And now the new trend is also coming, how to reduce customer efforts so that customers are really delighted. And if you see on the left side, I guess how we have to create a single source of truth from different data points, starting from customer interactions, from the product service uses, websites, call centers, social media, etc., and then giving access to robust targeted customer intelligence across all the company. I guess this is very, very important, which we are also trying to do in Schneider Electric. A lot of good companies are trying to do, where you have all the data unified and provided to the stakeholder and to the actors, so that we can help our customers for serving them by putting some kind of personalization action with this data and with this insights. And then we can see how to anticipate the future need. For example, in one of our predictive analytics, like today I can predict my so and so customer in next 1 month or 2 months can become passive or detractor, so that I can take action today. So I guess those kind of trends are coming, and it is not only coming, Already we have started doing certain thing, and some of the good companies, for example, I was talking to, I got opportunity to talk to, Amazon, Walmart, Dell, and then Google. Some of the processes they are really using very well. And if you see the trend which is going is price, products, absolutely important. But I guess the biggest thing which is going to emerge is experience, like how we are offering a experience of good of offer quality and offer good services after customers are getting those products. This is the strive for the best in Schneider Electric. This is our strategy for next few years. We strive to be the most agile, innovative, planet and customer centric supply chain. I guess this is very key. We lot of times we have supply chains. Now we have to see our supply chain should be focused on outside perspective in, and as a holistic way how we are seeing the new trends, mega trends which Javed have just shared with us. And good news is we are also personalization of a lot of our customers. For example, today we have 17 customer segments. Like you can also treat customers, but once you segment those customers, you can better tailorize their needs and all. And we have created a lot of customer personas inside the company. And you can see here we have panel builder, IT reseller, contractor, system integrator, and users. And our total supply chain is getting tailored as per the customer need. Means our everything starts with the customer and ends with the customer. The 12 key transformations which we are trying to put from Schneider for our stakeholder, for the planet, for our customers. First is sustainable, where we are saying net zero carbon emissions. Trusted, how we can have a personalized customer experience for our customer. And end of the day, whatever you do, you buy a product, you buy services. I guess the superior quality and services is the key, and it's given. For example, today when we are buying any phone or a refrigerator, a washing machine, or any consumer durable, our first need is quality is given. There should be no quality issue in this kind of product. And absolutely, we have a lot of focus on our big web giants who are like big data enablers, who are big companies globally. For example, maybe you can say Google, Amazon, Facebook are the companies who are enabling so many businesses across the board, and how to support them in a better, efficient way. And then intelligent. I guess intelligent, smart, digitalization is playing a huge role now in supply chain. And specifically after COVID, this is really creating a new way of working. This is really triggering, pushing all of us to think differently, to work differently. The digital is not one way, the way Dr. Lovneesh mentioned very clearly. I guess this has become two-way, three-way, four ways, and I will share with you some of those things in my coming slides. And then velocity and efficiency. I guess we need to have shorter and simplified supply chain. COVID has taught us like we should be closer to the customer. We should listen customer more patiently, more closely, so that we can close their issues, and we can work with them hand in hand so that they can give us repeat business. And that's what sustainable growth is. Now, if you see in the digital transformation for customer experience, I guess this is really driving end-to-end customer touch points. Like some of the companies are talking about 18 customer touch points. Some of the companies are talking about 32 customer touch points. And the important is who are our customers and what are their touch points. First point is customer personas. Everyone talks about we should be customer first, we should be customer focused and all. But I guess the customer personas are very important. And for example, we have created like a system integrator as a Simon, panel builder as a Peter, a distributor as a Dana. And then we have very specific tailored supply chain actions from the services, from the supply chain, from the design, for designing the whole strategy for the company. Then we have customer journey mapping. I guess this is a very new trend to really map the customer needs. So a lot of times, what happens, we go to the customer, get their feedback, take some action. But I guess this is also very important, like from our CEO to the worker, whole supply chain, the whole set of people are visiting customer and meeting not only their procurement, meeting their procurement team, meeting their quality team, meeting their sales team, meeting their maintenance team, For example, when we sell products, end user, for example, in one of the factories I went, and end of the day, the maintenance guy is in more pain. He wants spare parts faster. He do not want our machine to fail. So we have to listen those insights from those customers as well. So I guess the customer journey mapping is very important. Third is Mediala is a tool for digital customer measurements. Frankly speaking, this is a real time. For example, this tool is in my mobile. I can see today how many customers are promoters, detractors, are passive, and what kind of feedbacks they are giving. For me, there is no need to go anywhere. I can pick the phone because their mobile number is there, his address is there, his pain point is there. I can talk to him. So what I'm trying to say, the customer experience is becoming real-time measurement, a real-time action, and that's what I was saying. Customer needs shorter, shorter time, faster action, faster deliveries. Empowered employees is very important. A lot of times, I guess we miss this point. We can put digitization, we can put all processes, but the employees from our services team, our sales team, our manufacturing team, if they are not of the mindset of the customer, so we also need to make it sure how our employees are customer centric. What are the processes which they have to understand? How the how their customer handling skills are there. For example, we are also inviting some of you are our customers who are our today in the audience. Some of you are coming to our factories, to our DCs. We are sharing with you openly what's going on, and we are also making our employees more customer friendly to make it sure customers are happy. It doesn't mean everything is good, but what I'm trying to say, we are trying in that direction. And then CPC reliability. I guess this is one thing which all of us has to see. Who are our customers? What is the customer process capabilities? We have heard about process capabilities, but now we are talking about our customer processes capabilities, but customer need. So for example, we have 18 customer process capabilities which are only for the customer standpoint view, and then a lot of us are moving into more digital, which is real time on the global digital tower for customer insights, for process insight, for ecosystem insight, for supplier insight, and how we can move forward with the insights which are coming from this global digital tower. Definitely, you guys can note down some questions and you can write down in the chat. We will answer later. And then I guess I want to touch upon on quality 4.0, which is very, very important now, where we are saying move from quality processes to integrated, preventive, prescriptive, and digital. I guess quality 4.0 is not there like quality management systems. And if you see combining the PFMEA and the CTQ, CTP at the base of the processes, where a lot of times we don't pay much attention in the deep insights of our processes. Then can we move from QMS to Schneider productive system or Toyota productive system? Like your company might be running some kind of productive systems. Can we make more robust? Can we make more measurable? Can we make it more effective? Can we make more result oriented than the process and documentation oriented? So I guess that's another trend which is coming. Now, another thing is digitization. Like Dr. Lovneesh was saying, digital is not one way. No, we have to see how we are moving our reporting to automation, how we are moving our machines, from simple automation, simple inspection towards IoT, machine learning. And I will share with you some example, like how this digital is becoming two-way, three-way, even sometimes 360-way. Means you have a process, you put IoT and machine learning. Before even any problem happening, the auto correction of the process is happening. It means we are moving towards integrated 360 IoT machine learning kind of ecosystem, and that's the future for zero quality errors. And from actions, simple actions, to issue to preventive action and mission profile. Lot of times we face, hey, this is not my problem, this is customer problem, this is customer application issue, this is, I guess customer is not there to create any problem for us, right? All of us should agree. Inside our things, we have to find out some mission profile processes. What are the customer application? What are those challenges? Where are the environmental? Because I'm responsible for international, and I can see when I go to Australia or New Zealand or Japan and Korea, and when I come to Nigeria, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, And all these kind of our countries, then there is voltage fluctuation, power fluctuation, dusty environment, a lot of things which contribute to the quality. And we need to consider all those in our design to installation, commissioning, and many other processes. Just one example, right? I'm making a new house and I was using some switches and socket. When I see the same switches and sockets getting installed in Australia and getting installed in India, it was totally different. So I guess we have to align, but we have to sell products in India. So we have to make it sure how we can align on those processes. Now this is the quality 4.0 end-to-end smart model. I will not spend time, but you can see we have to think from supplier to warehouse to manufacturing to automation, logistics, and to the customer. And all the points which I've written there, for example, vendor web portal, GRN, gate sensors, e-Kanban, e-Andan, all this digitization is really, integrating, facilitating our whole supply chain for quality 4.0. And believe me, the prevention and prescriptive quality, I guess this digitization is bringing a lot of things. And I personally invite all our audience, our panelists, for any time, whenever you want to visit any one of our factory of Schneider or some other good factories, we are open. This is one example of smart line, how 3D printing, robotics, AOA, EcoStructure of power, plant LDS, etc. This is not a picture. This is not a theory. This is actually happening in the factories now. I was in a different panel discussion few days ago, and some of the discussion was, if it is really happening, and I can say it is really happening, it is really happening at a very fast speed. Yes, in India ecosystem, we are also seeing how we can help our small scale industry, our suppliers also to come into this into this discussions and action. And good news is a lot of our suppliers are showing a lot of interest in kind of digitization. And like back to Dr. Lovneesh point, yes, see how machines are becoming co-workers in AMR, in smart robotics, AOA. These are the few examples where really these machines are becoming co-workers for us, and it is very important to move this digitization towards integrated and prescriptive offer quality by using all these tools, machines, digitization. And this is all real example, real actions happening on the shop floor today. And last slide is like, okay, now we have data, we have insights, what to do. And I guess we have connected products, edge control, then goes to apps and analytics. And idea is take all machine data, take all customer data, take all manufacturing data, take all logistics data, take all people data, and then use those data points for preventive actions, for better quality, for better supply chain, and suppliers digitization for better supplier quality. So what I'm trying to say, all the data, digital, everything is fine. But if we don't use data, the quality of data is another important, and cybersecurity, which we are also putting a team who is making it sure all data quality is good and cybersecurity is in place. So here I will close my presentation. I know I was having 5-7 minutes. Sorry, Varun, I took 1 or 2 minutes more. And I will wait for some good questions. Thanks to you, thanks to audience, and thanks to our panelists and Dr. Lovneesh. Back to you, Varun.
Thank you, sir. A small announcement that anybody who wants to ask the questions to panelists or our keynote speakers can put in the chat box or the question box, and everybody can see and they can respond it over to you. We will also be taking some questions after the panel discussion. So please put them in the chat box so that we can take up them at the prominent time. So now we move on to our panel discussion. Can I request Shri P.S. Easwaran, partner and supply chain practice leader from Deloitte, to start the panel? We have the speakers, the panelists from Aditya Birla Group, Shri Abhishek Singh, from Schneider Electric, Shri Senthil Kumar, from Adani Power, Shri Ajay Gupta, from ITC Limited, Shri Jagadeesh Kunchey, from Cadila Pharmaceutical, Shri KVR, and from Oracle, Shri Tushar Chakra. Over to you, Easwaran.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Varun and Lovneesh, Javed, and Kailash. Thanks for the thoughts. I think some interesting sets of dimensions that you really touched upon, and possibly that is what I would also request the panel to do as we speak. The first one that we noticed is really the availability of data around customers, which is significantly more than what we had many years back. And therefore, I think the ability to sort of understand the data and provide the insights from that for proactive decision making is possibly one of the biggest things that I think we are all looking at. And therefore, what to look for in the ocean of data is something that's becoming very relevant in the context of digital. So I think we'll touch upon that from a customer perspective. And the second is just like how the organizations have a lot of data around customers. Today, customers have a lot of data around organizations. And unfortunately, what that does is it pushes up the bar of expectations from companies much significantly up. So if you take the service levels that each of us as individuals want now, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, I think the kind of service levels that we are requiring from people are significantly higher. So the variability index in the entire value chain has gone out of the window. And to that extent, I think customer expectations have to be aligned with from our service level perspective. So that extent, I think we'll have a fair degree of discussion around, what can we do with customer 4.0 and what needs to be done beyond just understanding customer needs. The second one, I think what was mentioned very clearly at the start is really around how the two dimensions are intertwined, the dimension of quality and the dimension of customer experience. And quality obviously is somewhat like the foundational element of customer experience. But today, I think all of us as organizations, and I think the presentations that both of you made, Javed and Kailash, are all around the fact as to how we can significantly exceed customer expectations on quality too. And obviously that will get itself to the next benchmark and the next benchmark later. But therefore, to that extent, I think the context of digital is not just around data analysis and insights. And I would argue that it is just not even around collaboration, but really ensuring that we are able to create value out of the whole thing. And to that extent, I think the big difference that companies are going through is not just around growth and managing growth and really around sustainability, but going beyond that and saying, how can we really create value on a day-by-day basis, which is substantially higher than what we did yesterday. And that is possibly the third area that I would request our speakers to touch upon. So one really around how are they generating insights around customers. Second is, how are they really planning for customer expectations and primarily from a quality perspective, given the topic. And the third and the most important dimension, like what I said, going beyond the typical definitions of transformation into value creation. So I think we'll focus on these two or three big areas, and I'm very keen on the value creation part. I see a lot of CXOs really stretched on value creation every day. And to that extent, and specifically from India, as we start thinking about global value chain participation. So with that in context, I think the form that we'll have attendees is that each of our speakers get about 3 minutes, and I'm going to be a hard stop there, and I'm going to stop them at 3 minutes because we just have only so much time. And then after that, I'll possibly have a set of questions, and we'll make it contextual to the sector that they belong to, as well as some of the dimensions that on their day job that they would be doing, so that we get a very pragmatic view of what they would want to talk about in each of these areas. So, I no particular order, but I thought I'll start with Senthil yourself. I think we just heard from two of your colleagues. So maybe I'll start with you. 2-3 aspects from your side as to how customer experience and quality 4.0 dimensions are getting evolved in the marketplace, and therefore how are companies reacting. And then maybe we'll have some follow-on after that. So Senthil, 3 minutes to you to start with.
Well, thank Mr. Easwaran. Good afternoon, everybody. Digital transformation, I must say, that provides multiple levers for us to transform the customer experience. If you may take a few examples, manufacturing gets smarter and smarter. Mr. KP Sharma just showed an example of a factory. Facilities can be made much more intelligent, and your supply chain can be much more agile, and that it provides phenomenal traceability. So what I would like to focus on one aspect on manufacturing, let's say that how do we enhance the customer experience. For us to do any kind of enhancement of customer experience, as Mr. Javed mentioned, we need to create the touch points, and that comes from connected devices. What we call in Schneider is we achieve this by eco-structure plan. There are 3 layers to this, and at bottommost you have the connected devices. And there are two dimensions to that. More and more devices are getting connected to the network. And at the same time, the level of intelligence in each of these connected devices is getting enhanced enormously. So that allows us to connect everything in the shop floor and then take it to the top floor, the information and data which should provide an insights. So once we have this devices connected and the touch points connected, it may not be just the instruments. It could be much more than that. Advisors can be at the field. And then the data gets collected from these connected devices at the middle layer, what we call edge control. It provides capability for us to control the process and control the manufacturing in a way which was not possible in the past. Automation, industrial automation was always there for decades, but the level of intelligence what we have in the connected devices and the level of capability we have in the edge control takes it to the next level. And then once we are in a position to achieve an excellent control of our production and then process, and the top layer, which apps and analytics, and Mr. Sharma showed all the three layers, and that's what we call it ecostructure. The top layer is where all the data mining happens, and that provides phenomenal amount of insights into the plant and the data what we have. What do we do with that data? And that's more important. It helps us to drive actions, in real time, which was in a manner which was not possible before. And how that is going to enhance the customer experience, it's going to empower the workforce. Majority of the time, if you look at in the pure industrial automation era, you would have seen that decisions are made in the control rooms or even much more. But with this kind of connected devices, with these kind of intelligent data mining, with this kind of digital transformation, the decision making gets much closer to the shop floor and the workforce gets empowered. And that is extremely significant once your workforce get empowered. And again, we have seen in the presentation the benefits of it. And apart from that, it helps. Once your workforce get empowered, your operations become agile and much more agile. And what eventually it does is to move from process and production control, which was in the first generation of industrial automation we were doing. These digital transformation technologies and the technology allows us to move away from just production and process control to profitability control. And that's the biggest value creation for the customer. And yeah, Mr. Ishwan.
So, Senthil, one quick follow-on question, right? Interesting one that you said towards the end, and before we move on to Jagadish, I think one point I wanted to check with you was you said we'll move away from production and process control to profitability control or profit controls. I think interesting. But one of the things that Indian organizations, and I think it was touched upon a little bit earlier, one of the things that Indian organizations are struggling with is really the business case for digital interventions. Specifically, really talking about when they should invest and how they should invest. It should be ahead of the curve or should be at the curve or later, etc. So to that extent, what's been the big drivers that you have seen which have impacted companies to really go for it? And specifically take these two dimensions, quality and customer experience. How have companies really gone through the process of business case? Maybe 30 seconds from you on that.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, Mr. Easwaran. In the past, even in the immediate past, the approach to this transformation was primarily to fix legacy challenges and pain points. And while that will give you benefits, but the benefits of that are very, very limited. And the approach what we are seeing and the trend we are seeing, what's emerging is that now people take an integrated approach. It's not about just fixing the challenge, and we need to have a strategy. We need to have a strategy from business leaders, not from the technocrats. So what we see increasingly is that technocrats or the engineers or the designers don't define this strategy of digital transformation. It's much more on the operations, process, and even much higher, the business decision makers. And that has immense dimensions, as I mentioned. We focus on what do we want to achieve, having our customers in mind. And once you have that kind of an approach, getting down and designing a digital plan gets much easier.
Thank you. Thanks, Senthil. I think interesting thoughts from you, and I think fantastic to have that view that I think it has to be a non-technocratic decision, but a business decision which will help the business case much better and make it much stronger. So thank you. Jagadish, I'm just sort of switching from industrial products into consumer, and I think you have been positively impacted. Obviously, yesterday's results are a proof of that. I think one of the things that we are noticing is that there is a significant change in the entire post-manufacturing ecosystem as far as consumer business is concerned. I'm sure there are significant impacts both on the manufacturing footprint as well as on the supply side ecosystems, given all the challenges that people faced. At the same time, the opportunities that were thrown up too. So any dimensional thoughts on the two areas, and more specifically, what are the trends that you're seeing in the marketplace where both the customer experience enhancement as well as quality, being impacted by the 4.0 interventions from consumer business companies? I think you're on mute, Jagadish, if I'm not wrong.
Just a minute.
Yeah, you're good now.
Am I audible now? Okay.
Yeah, now you're better.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Easwaran. Okay, just I represent consumer product companies. So basically, let me define my customers there first. You have put in a question there that could take both on supply side as well as the after manufacturing, the remaining supply chain also, that there were lots of challenges. As we have seen, the last 1.5 years probably, I think, has pushed ahead the digital transformation of organizations. So that is one trend. Normally, I think we would have taken probably 3-4 years there to do these things. Thanks to this COVID, I think it had happened there in 1 year or 1.5 years, less than that. A lot of processes have changed. So in this process, what has changed is that the customer expectations have changed significantly. For us as a consumer, for a consumer who is consuming a day-to-day items, like whether it is an atta or whether it is a biscuits or a snack product or any kind of product which is there in this consumer space. So earlier traditional model was that you will procure it there, maybe that you take it once in a month, or that you procure it there from whatever your guy that you take. You will go to a shop and then procure it. But now, thanks to this pandemic, so now everybody wants a delivery there, wants minimum contacts. So that means that I want the delivery there at my place, if possible. If not possible, then I will go to the shop which is nearest there to my home. So or I would prefer a mode where the guy will deliver there up to my home. So that's what is the expectation, I think, their consumer expectation, which is changing. So now this experience has to be provided there by companies. So now if my customer expectation is there, that one is that there in terms of consumers like you and me. The second one is like that in India that we are like the general trade or a traditional trade dominates the business. Traditional trade, that the distributors or the retailers are there, that traditionally they used to keep inventory. But now, thanks to this, whatever we have seen there over the last 1.5 years, now everybody is moving towards just-in-time inventories. They want to keep the minimum possible inventory, and they want to minimize the working capital which is blocked there in terms of inventory. So they want to keep items only which are selling. So that means that that is one expectation there, that because everybody wants to optimize there in terms of their costs. So now the third one is that quality of delivery. Like we have seen there, social media, everything has gained traction there over the last 1.5 years. So now earlier that if we have to order something, then it will be there on the basis of more of an offline mode. But now that online ordering seems to be the method, and particularly when you talk about millennials, there that everything for them, that social media is their everything. So you keep on for your product quality there to get certified. So then it doesn't take any minute that immediately somebody can post on a Twitter or a Facebook there about your product quality, and you can pick up the trends. These are some of the things that what are happening there in the space. And last but not the least, the demand patterns are very, very erratic, so that you can't exactly predict there that what is selling there where. So that is the place that where the data is only the source that take, with the help of which you can make right kind of decision, better kind of decision, better quality of decisions. So having said this, all these challenges are putting a lot of pressure there onto the back end. There in terms of supply chains, the shorter your supply chain, the better it is there. The shorter to market, it is better there for you. So that means that for some of the categories, you have to go closer there to the customers. You need to have smaller but large number of facilities. Therefore, if you take items like a Ashirwad Atta or something like that, we have increased our footprint there to a large extent. And also that you take the products like sanitizers or sprays, disinfectant sprays. These are the things I think that they have to be stored closer there to the market. So that is one pattern there onto the manufacturing side. On the distribution side, so what is very, very important there for you is that you have to be available all the when the consumer wants it, and your delivery quality will become a differentiator there for your company there to make or break the deal.
So Jagadish, one quick question on that, maybe on the last point, you talked about quality, and while we spoke about service levels and therefore footprint expansion or optimization, and therefore, also customer expectations on hand deliveries that are changing the ways in which, and therefore I'm sure pack sizes are changing accordingly, etc., because frequency of purchases would change and those kinds of stuff. Now, one of the things that is becoming very relevant also to customers is the product quality and the salience of the brand, and therefore, they're linking both together, right? Quality of the brand and quality of the product and the salience of the brand. And many of them require you to have some level of controlled conditions, maybe not Ashirwad Atta, but some of the portfolio, so that, you're able to provide the desired quality. How has digital interventions ensured that you're able to trace the portfolio to deliver the desired quality? And because, you also have multiple intermediaries in your chain who will be handling your portfolio, possibly not with the same level of scrutiny as ITC. So how do you do that?
Yeah, right. This is where the technology is playing a big role. That if you take the case of a frozen products or a chocolate products, which also we have there in our portfolio. Here, that the temperature there at which your product is traveling there across the chain becomes very, very important. So you have got processes there that there at every place, and that is where that digital enabled processes which will capture your temperatures. And also, like in some products like a spices or a ghee or where agri products are there sourced there. So your blend where they are sourced there from, and then that can take what kind of an impact it has got. And also the consumer also wants to know more. In today's consumer is much more aware than what it was there 5 years back. So he wants to see, experience, and then that can take a buy before the online format gives a kind of convenience there for him there to go through all these things there at a scan. So we had to do this customization there to our supply chain. In some of the technologies like blockchain is being used. Therefore, that for recording the origination of the product there across the chain, so that you can have, if at any point of time that if you want to know where does your ingredients come from there in a particular product, you can know. That is there available there for some of the critical products. And service delivery quality there that we have got technology there to monitor your transit times there exactly, and also the temperature there through that. And in some cases that humidity, and these are the things that all the quality parameters which need to be adhered there to while you are moving the product there across the chain. Those are the things that which we had to install there across our chain.
Perfect. So today you would have an end-to-end visibility of not just on the movement of the product, but also the conditions in which the product is moving, right from source to the destination, right from the input material to the end consumer that is there. So there is a level of salience that the customer would have when he looks at the brand. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. Abhishek, I'll come to you next. Like what I said, no particular order. And one of the things that I want to know, we looked at industrials, we looked at consumer business. Now you represent a group which is substantially diverse and touches across everything, including many of the portfolios which are service oriented. How is therefore, you deal with, I think to Kailash's point earlier about customer personas and therefore hyper segmentation of customers. I think you would deal with customer personas which are extremely different across the spectrum of things. And therefore, how is that your journey on data and analytics has been, and how has that really led to the transformation journey within the group? So any thoughts on that, Abhishek?
Sure. Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. So basically, COVID, when it started, the data all got messed up. The demand spiked, the supply shrunk, and any digital medium or any machine learning algorithm per se is designed to optimize for one of those things, not for both. In this case, there was a one-off scenario where we had both the scenario of the demand and supply both getting impacted. Now, the main task where we use analytics and machine learning algorithms is basically to bring in efficiencies into the system, be it right from the manufacturing side or on the supply chain side. Let me take an example of a tissue paper manufacturer who was impacted due to COVID. The demand just spiked up for tissue papers, and the machine learning algorithms which were built to predict the demand were not able to predict that kind of spike. Having said that, there was a difference in the demand spike. It was not just that the demand of tissue paper spiked up. It was also that the demand of tissue paper from the end customers for that CPG manufacturer spiked up. And that is a different product which they used to supply to hotels, to airports, or to offices, which were totally shut down. So along with the complexity of the high demand, there was also the complexity of the product assortment optimization. It's kind of a two-way edged sword, I would say. You can optimize for one thing, but at the other end, the accuracies will go down of your ML models. So what we did at the group was basically there are a few factories which are going to the smart way, through the smart factory way or industry 4.0. We are adapting to that change. But then also we started looking at logistics in a different manner. COVID, as everyone pointed out, brought the supply chain more localized instead of being more global or far off distances. However, there is a efficiency which need to be gained in the cost as well for any business. And those efficiencies come from the lowest cost manufacturer and the highest quality manufacturer in a certain area or geography. Now, that geography can be China or it can be Southeast Asia, where you have the highest quality and the lowest cost product coming from. In this case, our supply chain became more localized. We had to look at the localized suppliers who were not that efficient with their cost. We had to face that brunt, and accordingly, our cost of their cost of production went down. Having said that, the machine learning algorithm or the analytics which you do always learns from the historical data. So the machine started learning on that false data it was getting during this period of last 2 years. And now if you see the machines, the accuracy have gone down of the algorithms. If you're predicting the cost of a particular product, it is way higher than what we were predicting, let's say 2 years back. And at the same time, the cost of production is also projected very high. However, you're switching from your localized to again global environment now. You're starting to switch. However, so the ask from the analytics team was very simple: that can you optimize this for us so that the change from which we are seeing from global to local and now again to global, this can be adapted in our machine learning algorithms. And that's exactly what we did. So instead of working as with each of the suppliers, what we did was we had clusters of them distributed across geographies and having what is the quality I'm getting, what is the minimum quality I want to give to be introduced into the system so that the end product is of good quality, which is consumer ready. So those kind of interventions were needed from the data analytics side.
On that note, Abhishek, thanks for that. And I think that would have been a question for a lot of people in the audience, because I think the first 18 months and the next few months that we are having are very different in their characteristics. And I'm sure that you're also working on all the commodity pricing and the related issues that are gone in the marketplace. Now, one quick question on that. I think one of the dimensions that people are always worried about is about real-time insights. And you touched upon that point pretty clearly, saying that the machine learns from the past, and therefore the algorithms are set for a particular trend, and therefore they throw up a cost structure which is very different from now. And at the same time, on the business side, people are always demanding real-time insights, and real-time insights also have that issue of maturity of data, and also therefore the costs associated with that too. Any views on how people can balance this requirement as to between real time and therefore what is the most optimal cost model for them to get those real time insights?
So the first and foremost thing is the data availability, and it's not only the organization's own data availability. Let's take the example of logistics company. Now, most or any company using logistics to supply their products to their customer or warehouses or retailers. Now, most of their logistics is dependent on third-party vendors. So the data availability from the third-party vendors is equally important on gaining the efficiencies from your analytics as your own data. So the whole ecosystem needs to grow to bring on that efficiencies together. It's not that a particular company will adapt to analytics and real-time data, start gathering it, they can drive efficiencies. That would not be the case. We will need to drive the whole ecosystem along with us. We will need to make these vendors or third-party logistics suppliers to adopt to the digital chain, make their data available in real time to us, so that we can do analytics on top of that and be ready with those kind of insights. If you look at the machine predictive maintenance kind of a problem in Industry 4.0, now this problem, first of all, most of our factories, at least in the group, we are still in the journey of digital transformation. We are somewhat there, but we are not fully there. So I wouldn't say that the data is for all the machines is available 100% of the times. We are going ahead in that journey. We are taking steps so that we could be ready in a 6 months time to reach industry smart factory kind of a model. However, if real-time insights are to be expected, it's not that you start collecting data, you will start getting real-time insights. It will take time for the machines to learn. So you get your data available today. It will probably take another year or so for the machines to learn from that data, start giving you the right triggers that, okay, this particular machine is likely to develop a fault because of this particular reason at this point of time. So those kind of real-time analytics in Industry 4.0 will take time, and this has to be driven right from the data collection to getting the right quality data, and then giving it enough time for the machines to learn on that, on top of that data, and giving you the right insights.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thanks for that. And Kailash, you wanted to say something? You're on camera. Is it you want to say something? Okay, thank you. So quick, as we move on, I think I want to sort of switch into a very different view. Ajay from Adani Power is here, and Ajay, one of the things that is always very significant is for you.
Easwaran ji has been called by his management for an urgent thing. He might
okay, then I think maybe then what we lose. Thanks for that. I think we also have Kevia here. So Kevia, quick from your perspective. You've been in the thick of all the action over the last 18 months, and I think going forward, right? Government has announced the PLI schemes for pharma companies. You've been in the thick of all the pandemic, and to that extent, I think the agenda that is there for the pharma industry is now substantially significant than what it was possibly maybe 20 months back or 18 months back. So in that context, are there dimensions around? I'm sure customer experience here is more around also availability, given all what people were going through, and to that extent, quality primarily is the paramount agenda for pharma companies. So any views on how you took the organization through this journey over the last? I'm more interested in the last 2 years, where I'm sure you would have done a lot of interventions, and what have been the big areas of focus to drive quality and customer experience?
Thank you, Easwaran. This is the last 2 years has been a very good experience, in the sense the entire the way we are looking at the product availability or the customer service has to be it went for a total sea change. We had to go back to the drawing room back. But unlike the other industries, just a bit on the pharma industry, the end customer is not the patient, but it is the doctor who prescribes this. And the second challenge is over the so many years we were dependent on the China or the other companies, where the API or the KSMs or key starting materials were available at a better price than what it was in India. So that definitely posed a little bit of challenge. But nevertheless, looking into the regulatory challenges or regulatory controls that we have at each stage, even in the prescription point of view, or the doctor giving a prescription to the patient, and also the manufacturing process, everything is a regulated one. And the lead times typically for an API to manufacture, it's as minimum as 45 days to 160 days or so it will be there. So what I'm trying to imply is there is an inventory availability point, or every company will have an inventory to mitigate that particular lead times. So that has helped to some extent. But now the new challenge is looking into the challenges are continuing in the China because of the logistics and the supply chain related issues, and we need to have an alternatives here within India, wherein the manufacturing, whether it is an API or whether it is the rubber stoppers or the vials, that needs to be primary focus for the country for the next couple of years. I think that will help us in a long way to go. And the biggest challenge that we are, one point that I would like to share here is the identifying the key triggers, and then try to analyze or to put it in a place. So that becomes the biggest challenge, which I feel the companies need to go back to the drawing room and then relook at the entire end-to-end the processes that we have. Though the supply chain is typically a linear plan, source, make, and deliver, right? But each and every area, there are lots of technology solutions are available in the system, or the companies are using. But the idea, the larger challenge is all these systems should speak to each other in such a manner. Any trigger point at any place should give what if scenario, so that the decision makers can immediately take an alternative solution, or try to inform the customer that this is what is going to happen. So these are the challenges which the companies need to look into that going forward.
Thanks, Kivya. I think that was, I think that's fundamentally the core of the digital intervention, right? Synchronizing customer expectations with internal capabilities, and therefore ensuring that you have the ability to have an end-to-end visibility and go back to customers with. I just had one follow-on question on that part. One of the things that you mentioned is that organizations have to revisit their end-to-end processes, given the way the changes have occurred in the marketplace, and therefore right from the ability to react to everything else. Now, have there been interventions which are digital that you have seen, which has accelerated this, which have made processes redundant, KVR, in the pharma industry, that you believe were existing maybe a few years back, but now with the context of digital interventions are no more relevant to organizations?
Digital interventions are there in currently, but they're more in the silos, right? Like in the, say in the purchase or the planning area or the manufacturing or the quality management system. They are in that totally. There are digital interventions are there which they are working only towards one particular area only. Now the time has come wherein all these needs to be integrated.
Okay, absolutely. So what you're saying is that there is an integrated view to digital interventions now rather than siloed proofs of value that were happening earlier.
Right.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kavya, for that. And what I will do is, since you mentioned about digital interventions and digital strategies, Tushar, I'll lean on you for two things. First one is, you are in the center of product development and product strategy from a technology perspective for enabling digital interventions. What are the big, changes that you're seeing? I think people spoke about trends in their respective industries. What are the shifts that you're seeing as far as digital is concerned? Is there a shift in the way in which digital itself is configured and thought about in the marketplace, and therefore as product companies, how are we reacting to it? That could be one dimension that you can touch upon. And second is, where are the areas where you see the most tangible benefits for businesses, and how are they translating into quality and customer service orientations?
Thanks, Ishwar. I think there are three fundamental things which we need to think about when we think about this whole topic of digitization and modernization that we're talking about. The first thing is the recognition that every organization is actually a technology company. You may be in the pharma industry, you may be in manufacturing, you may be in supply chain of logistics, but at the end, somewhere or the other, more and more the recognition that you're a technology company and technology is going to be your backbone. That is one fundamental shift that is being recognized. Second part of it is something which I believe is going to be more and more prevalent, is that we as humans are shifting, we are changing. When we say that India is a market where over 70% of individuals are in the young category, 35 average age group, this category is by itself changing as a human being. And human behavior tends to be permeative. It doesn't change very dramatically when you're outside your home and when you get into the office. That change is what causes every individual to ask the question, why can I do it one way when I am at home and do it another way when I am in an office environment? I think that is a fundamental query that comes about. The third part about it is the whole definition of digital. The first definition that everybody was very comfortable with was digital is pace, is faster delivery, click and things happen. More and more progressively, we are talking about customer satisfaction. These are two big words, right? There's customer and then there's satisfaction. You can put scores on satisfaction, but we tend to miss who is the customer. Is it that one individual who actually puts money and buys my good? That was the first definition, but over a period of time, that definition is changing to be that every human being across the entire life cycle of our organization is actually a customer. And how will we make them satisfied? And slowly that word satisfaction changes to empowerment. Now, if you put these three factors together, one, the human, the second, we being a technology company, and the third being the customer being everybody involved in the value chain, you come across some interesting cusps of what needs to be solved for. And what you need to look at is, can we change that one small thing? And it's going to be an incremental change. I mean, you can't really just flick and everything is going to change. You have to bring incremental changes. Technology will play a great role in different dimensions. Blockchain can get you permissive information. IoT can get you instantaneous feedback out of your product. AI can play a role. ML can play a role. Let me take an example of how one small shift can make a major difference. Invoices. One of the things that happens to all of us is that the amount of papers that are floating around, whether it's digital or it is coming by way of physical printouts, the amount of physical invoices. We as humans have got used to reading an invoice. It's got a header, which says from, there is a to, there is an address, there is a quantity, there is a description, there is a value, then there is taxes. Every organization is manufacturing invoices in different formats. We took this as a simple use case of what needs to be solved for, that this paper needs to be read by a human and inputted into a system. If NLP can be applied and AI algorithms can be pulled together to just scan the paper and immediately pre-populate a system, the shift in productivity that happens is in order of magnitudes of hours changing to seconds. Now, that's kind of where I think that the cusp of technology is going to be. Recognition of technology, digitization, and a shift in who is the customer. Those three things, and every intervention in between is how we see technology playing a role at this point of time.
Wonderful. No, I think that's well said. And I think where people are also struggling with is in those 2 or 3 areas where, what is inside out doesn't seem to be an outside in perspective. So to that extent, what you said is some of the smaller elements which we think are really small can make big movements as far as organizations are concerned. And I think it's also a question of how the proof of value therefore comes out and therefore enables other functions and others in the organizations to adopt some of these dimensions. I just had one follow-on question that I wanted to check about. So does it change the technology landscape right now in the marketplace? I don't know whether it's an easy question to answer, but is it changing the technology landscape? What people were thinking about by way of technological access maybe a couple of years back versus now, is it changing or is it more around operating models? I was doing an on-prem, today it's in the cloud or private cloud, whatever. Is it only the operating model or the whole thinking around what technology should they own has it changed?
I think the way to think about it is technology, the fundamental use cases. For example, I guess most of us here grew up in an era where floppy drives were a very expensive thing, right? 250, 300 rupees to get one of those 4-inch drives. And today, that if I show it to my children, they will laugh at us because they don't believe in any of that and they believe in the concept of online storage. So the way accessibility of technology and its ability to be more permeasive in the organization is undergoing a change. So I would recommend that as you think about capabilities, the first way to think about it is, can I just rent it off and make it happen? So cloud, kind of is the buzzword at the moment, but the idea is, can I rent this capability and use just what I need out of it? So that's going to be dimension one on which one needs to think about. The second thing is always, it's like the analogy I give in my organization and in my team is that we've all worn sweaters. And you know how a sweater, when you pull one thread out, it slowly starts unwinding. So I just take this NLP example and take it to the next step. Now, the moment you say I've done NLP, I put it into a screen, what next? What is that next piece which will make a difference? The next piece tends to be ancillary systems. So you need to kind of plan your journey to see which is that one knot that I will unknot first and move it forward. I heard some of our colleagues on the panel talk about, I've started getting data out of the machines. Okay, what next? What do I want to achieve by that? Is the objective cost? Is the objective that I want to make the operator's life simpler? Every time you change the objective, the technology answer will change a little left and right, but ultimately, all of this is today available more easily than it ever was. So I would say technology is going to be permeasive to everything that you want. It's available. It's a click away.
Perfect. So thanks. So what you're saying fundamentally is that the landscape remains the same. It's more around what people would want to access and some of their priorities which are going through some changes, right?
Yes.
Right. Thank you. So I think we have 5 more minutes, and I thought if there are any questions from the audience, Varun, that we can pick up. I'm not able to see some, so I'll check with you if there are any audience questions. Otherwise, I had a set of questions for the 6 of them, maybe very quickly, the 5 of them, maybe a minute each is what I have.
I think Ishwaranji, you can ask the question.
Okay. So, maybe in no order again, but Jagadish, since you are on on camera, and I think we spoke a bit about the changes that you're having. But tell me one thing, I go back to what Abhishek was mentioning. In your context, the entire distribution structure would have gone through an overhaul, right? And like what you said, new manufacturing footprints, new distribution footprints, maybe lesser, more direct to customer being more. So you would have done a set of models earlier, and therefore AML interventions to really understand demand, predictability of demand, etc. How does that change? Is the organization able to use a lot of that going forward, or do we need major changes to many of our digital thinking, which happened much earlier? Maybe you're on mute, Jagadish.
The digital journey was there before, but this pandemic has accelerated it. So some of the models there whether we are talking about forecasting, AI and ML, these were there that they are being tested there before pandemic. So post pandemic, I think that they have given much more advantage. Particularly because it has become with whatever the challenges I have described there before. Now, if all these customer expectations have to be delivered, then your backend has to be super efficient. So how we were able to make it efficient is there only thereby leveraging some of these tools. Just to give you an example, they're like basically that our planning processes have to undergo a change. So like that the traditional S&OP models that times have crashed there for that. And then you have to be much more agile there to the market requirements. There on the basis of that what is selling, the real-time data that whatever you are getting there from the retailer, what is selling and what is not selling. And also your assortment there when the salesman goes to the market, that's where these models have helped us. Like if he is going there to based on the type of outlet, what is the assortment that he should focus upon? So because the time was very limited, if he is having a 4 hours, if he has to focus there on entire portfolio, he will not be able to do justice there to that. So these models have suggested some value over there. Also on the back end, particularly whether the route optimization or that or like salesman beat optimization, where he is doing and how effectively are we able to forecast and then thereby use it as an input there to the manufacturing. These are the places I think that where these digital tools have helped us, and it has thanks to this that the justification was much more easier than it was there before. Investment there into these technologies.
Thank you. Abhishek, one quick question to you. Follow on to that. I think you mentioned about data models changing, and therefore you going back from local to global, etc. I think. And when you did all this, and since you run the analytics organization, were there COVID-related factors in the structured or unstructured data that you brought in when you started thinking about the post-COVID scenario? Beyond the traditional models that you would have anyway run earlier, was there anything specific to COVID that organizations are doing? May not be yourself, or in case you can't share it. Is there things that companies are looking at these days, Abhishek?
Yeah, definitely, Ishwar. So COVID has actually made a huge impact on how machines are learning and how we are building our data science models on top of that. To give you an example, let's take the example of account receivables and account payables. So these were impacted a lot during the, I would say, 9-month period of high COVID scenarios across the geographies. Now, one of the models which we built was predicting whether a particular vendor of ours would be able to pay for the invoices, or we would be able to pay for the invoices in time. That was a major factor, and we had to take on the data from government sources, from the COVID related data, how much of I would say government intervention is there in particular geography, whether some kind of leverages have been given by the government to that particular industry, whether some support is given, does it enable them to make their payments more promptly? So those kind of analysis we did to a certain extent to justify the business that, okay, your capital, which is currently days in account receivable is 30 right now, but it is going to be 35, and there is going to be impact on your cash flows. So those kind of insights were developed during the COVID era, which were specifically for that particular duration. If you ask me today, do we use that model? We don't, because it's no longer relevant for us now. But during that period of we did develop those kind of scenarios.
Perfect. I think it's a great example, and I think and sort of lived the time when it was most required. And I'm sure you're doing something for all the new early warning issues that are happening in the marketplace right now. Be it container crisis or be it the aluminum crisis, whatever. Senthil, since you're on camera, I thought I'll quickly check with you. You spoke about when you discussed, you talked about connected devices and connected devices with the shop floor and shop floor to the top floor, etc. So the three components essentially are workplace, and workforce, right? Which is essentially where a lot of manufacturing has really impacted. And therefore, I think most people have been focusing on IoT interventions, which are predominantly around either the workforce or to some extent the work itself. But the workplace is something that has been generally ignored, right? Now, any examples that you have, because you also have a larger play as to how the workplace itself has gone through a transformation, or work goes through a transformation, workforce also goes through a transformation, but anything on the workplace itself, and specifically in the context of the COVID.
Yeah, Easwaran, interesting question. If you look at the workplace, let's take a manufacturing plant or process plant. There were multiple elements of IoT or digitalization was already there, but the level of enablement and usage was much limited. What we have seen is that with very fewer people on the shop floor, with fewer people on the workplace, the need for remote monitoring, remote control, remote traceability, all that is enhanced. So what we have seen is that interventions in the capability for organizations to remotely monitor with very limited process. And that led to many themes, and most important being the change in the mindset of executive. Earlier, these things, all these aspects of adapting technology, what I mentioned and much more, was a nice thing to have. And now it's a part of a strategy to gain the competitive advantage, which is a big shift.
Perfect. So I think what you're saying is essentially around monitoring, compliance, and all, given all the requirements of social distancing too, which was very relevant at that point of time, and regulations around it. I think that's where the interventions were perfect. Yeah. I think, KVR, I just thought I'll quickly have one word from you on the aspects. You spoke about at the time about companies going back to the drawing room itself. And I just had one question. Today we have a lot of disruptions for especially the pharma industry, right? We have a logistics disruption in terms of containers. We have costs going up. Therefore, we also had some of the other commodities getting disrupted. So is the pharma industry really focusing on how to get early warning signals through digital interventions? Are there areas that the sector is working on? Because it seems to be very relevant, because in India's context, pharma has a more larger global value chain participation than some of the others. So that's why I asked you this question.
The currently using of digitalization is still in the nascent stage.
Okay.
Frankly, because all these say aluminum prices going up and down in daily basis, or the paper is not available, the pulp is not available, or the import containers are not available. So these are the putting in a one database and then try to pick up and then create a scenario. So that is still in nascent stage. I think there is a long way to go there.
Sure. Thanks so much. And any final words from you before I summarize, Tushar, on what do you see would be the next big digital intervention that we look at? We have spoken about blockchain, we have spoken about, let's say, 4.0, we have spoken about customer and quality X.0, and now where do you think would be the next one? 10 seconds.
I think that the next one, which is going to get very important, is the partnership that we as organizations have with banks. The way money is being fueling our business, thus far it's been a very relationship which is at arm's length and a fairly complicated one. The future of this is going to be in a space where just like we are talking about having IoT sensors on our devices, we would want IoT sensors or equivalent technology sensors on our ERP systems, on our systems which are managing our processes, so that as our life cycle is progressing, the bank can come in and make strategic investment, interventions, be it by way of providing cash during a supply chain finance system intervention, or it could be account receivables with virtual account management. We've seen some of this happening with smaller systems like Apartment Adda, where you do every invoice for every apartment is known. Now think about this at a scale of an organization like the ones which all of you lead, and you start looking at the receivables problem, and a bank is providing you a virtual account management system which maps. All of a sudden, these problems start changing and becoming smaller. So I think that's kind of where the next big thing is going to happen, the partnership with banks.
Interesting. I think so. Integration of the triage of material flow, information flow, and financial flow. So that's essentially what we are looking at. So to me, great interactions. I think we are on the hour exactly, maybe 2 minutes here there. But I think thank you so much. I think we had some very fruitful discussions, and the key takeaway for me is this. I think there is a lot of journey elements that organizations have gone through. I think pre and post-COVID changes have also been implemented by organizations in their digital journeys. And I think there are a plethora of use cases that people spoke about across the entire value chain that can enhance customer experience and also drive quality up north. So to that extent, I think very fruitful discussions and multiple industry perspectives, which always lends credence to the fact that this is not something which is for a particular segment or a sector, but across. And thank you, everybody. And Varun, back to you. So a good, enjoyable session for me and a lot of learnings for everyone.
Thank you, Easwaran for nicely moderating the session. Can I request Kailash Sharma ji, member ASSOCHAM, to deliver vote of thanks?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm really excited and happy. Like this particular roundtable discussion topic was very, very close to my heart, which is digital transformation of customer experience and quality. I was having same discussion in US few quarter ago. So first of all, once again, a big thank to ASSOCHAMs for helping us to arrange this session. And I'm more than that happy with the Barun and Vicky. I still remember we started this journey few months ago, and today this session has happened. So big thank. But I'm really excited to see the kind of panel discussion has happened, and I guess whole credit also goes to Easwaran ji, who's stalwart. We know him personally. Maybe we have not met him, but we keep reading his article. We keep reading his great work. Thank you so much for making this happen. Mr. Jagadeesh, Senthil, Tusharji, Kevia, and your insights have really brought a good insights. And definitely as a industry partners, all of us can maybe we will work more. And I invite any one of you in our factories in Hyderabad or in Bangalore any point of time. And around Senthilji was there today. Maybe he got a little less time, but he's also doing a tremendous job for us in this direction. How I can forget Dr. Lovneesh, who started a good with the welcome note, and he put it his thoughts. And we also assure him, like from the industry side, a lot of efforts are going on. And now I'm also part of ASSOCHAM, and our industry leaders are already there. So definitely wherever we can do something different to spread the digital journey, to spread the digital ecosystem, because advantage in Schneider we have, it's a global footprint. So we keep bringing some practices from outside. We keep exporting some practices from India. And I can tell to this forum, like a lot of thoughts processes in digitization has gone from Team India also. I also give a big thank to Javed Ahmad, our SVP supply chain, and Anil Chaudhary, who's our country president for Greater India. They have really supported us in this particular session. And our own communication team, Ashok, Devalina, Nidhi, Indu, and Vidisha. So I guess this was really a good teamwork. And I'm more happy like this session has happened. Absolutely, we have also noted a lot of insights from different panelists. We will also make it sure how we can also learn from those practices or those thoughts which has come in. And in future also, maybe if more such occasions comes, we can come together to take this digital transformation journey for customer experience and quality 4.0 to the next level. Once again, a big thank to everyone, and let's give a huge round of applause to our panelists and Mr. Easwaran for driving this.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank
Good
you
day.
so much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Good day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.